Hey y'all, and welcome to The Wannabe Author. I'm Taryn, a writer figuring out how to turn my publishing dream into reality, one chaotic step at a time. This is the place where we talk books, writing struggles, mental health, and everything in between. Whether you're a writer, a reader, or just curious about the process, I am so glad you're here. Let's jump in. Hey y'all, and welcome back to The Wannabe Author. I'm your host, Taryn Christine, and in today's episode, I was lucky enough to interview someone who has been a friend and influence for me in my own writing and publishing journey. Her debut novel, Immortal Consequences, releases this year. This book is about 6 students at Blackwood Academy, a boarding school located at the edge of the afterlife. They must compete for the once-in-an-eternity chance to change their fate, or risk remaining stuck in purgatory forever. It is an unputdownable debut full of twists, betrayals, and world-defying love. In this episode, we get to hear about this author's journey to publication, how the idea for such a unique novel was sparked, and a couple hints at what she has planned next. It is my honor to introduce you all to Ivy Marie. Thanks for this.
Isa, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on here.
Of course. Thank you for being here. It's Isa, right? Did I pronounce it right? Okay.
You got it.
Good. It's hard with the pen names because I think Ivy. And then I'm like, oh yeah, no.
Yeah, but you know what? I will respond to both. I actually went to a book event last night and someone called me Ivy. But I was like, I will respond to Ivy or Isa. So either is fine.
Good. Okay, that's so fun. I love that so much. What was the book event for, if you don't mind me asking?
It was for Jessica Goodman's new book, The Meadowbrook Murders, I believe is the name of it. I really hope I'm not butchering that. Let me.
No, you're good.
Yeah, Meadowbrook. Okay, good. I was just making sure I didn't mess up the boarding school name. But yeah, it's a new YA thriller. We went to Annabelle's book club here in LA. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before, but it's beautiful. The space is so nice. So yeah, I just went for her new book launch.
Oh, that's so fun. Okay. Yeah. How fun. Okay, we'll jump into things. I did do a little introduction of you, your book and stuff. So there is a little synopsis. So just so you know,
I'm excited to hear it.
I hope I do it justice.
I'm sure you did.
So I like to start off with talking about what is your current read?
Ooh. So I just finished Perfume by Patrick Süskind. I'm unsure how to pronounce it. Which is a very, very dark, kind of twisted book. But honestly, sometimes I'm in the mood for that. It's kind of like a modern classic. But I just finished that, and I'm actually just now starting The Weaver Bride by Lydia Gregovic, who is actually my editor. She's my editor at Delacorte, and she's also an author.
Cool.
And this is her second book, and Delacorte was so lovely, and they sent me an early bound manuscript. So I'm really excited. I'm going to read that next. So
okay, that's so fun. Love that.
Yeah,
so she
it's again one of the perks of being an author too is you get sent all of the early reads, all the early most anticipated books you have. So yeah, I'm really excited to start that one.
Okay, how cool. That's super fun.
What are you reading?
I'm currently near the end of Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros.
Oh, how are you feeling about it?
I actually am loving it.
Okay,
I really am.
And so I've been hearing all sorts of things. I haven't started it yet. I've been kind of in a literary fiction phase.
Love that.
Which is I like to switch it up, especially as someone who writes mostly fantasy. I honestly think it's helpful to read other genres. So I've kind of been primarily reading lit fic, but I'm excited to read it.
No, I actually really have loved it. I think it's my favorite in her series so far. So, and
Oh,
it's
interesting.
fun seeing her as a romance author and then seeing her go from romance to fantasy. It's really
Yes.
fun seeing, I don't know, how she
Yeah,
takes both.
I saw a post on Threads the other day that was like, Rebecca Yarros wrote 20 books before Fourth Wing. Like, just like, you know what I mean? Like, just
Yep.
how much she was like in the industry already. Yeah, but her journey is so cool to go from like, kind of be able to still do both. The dream.
Oh, truly a dream.
Yeah.
I would love that. Okay, we're gonna deep dive into your writing process, your journey. A lot of people, I want to start out with the writing process and from the very beginning. A lot of people dream of writing a book. Obviously, we've seen over book talk and all of that. What finally made you sit down though and say, I'm going to create this book and get it published?
Yeah, I'm definitely the kind of person when I like make up my mind about something, I'm like, it's go time. Like I'm going all in. But I mean, writing is something that I've always loved doing. I was writing short stories when I was like 8. I was writing like fan fiction, like all sorts of fan fiction when I was in middle school. I started with like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I I wrote a lot of Zutara fan fiction. I
Yes,
wrote a
ma'am.
lot of you're gonna sense a trend here. I wrote a lot of Zutara. I wrote a lot of Germini. I wrote like Delena. Like the pairings, there's a
Oh,
pattern.
yes.
So yeah, and I also wrote some One Direction fan fiction, which we're not gonna talk about. But anyways, we'll skip over that one.
Read all of this.
Oh, I've scrubbed it from the internet. There's no way.
Dang it.
I say that and then somehow someone finds it. Anywho, I've always loved writing. And I kind of fell off a little bit. I started doing music in high school and kind of went more for like a songwriter route
Cool.
post high school. So it had been a few years since I had even thought about writing. And during COVID, as many of us did, I kind of had a lot of free time. I also had gone back to school after having dropped out like 5 years before. So I was kind of in this like very much like transition phase, and I started just kind of marinating of what is something I love to do, what is something I can fill this time with. And I was like, I used to really like writing. Like, what happened? And I just got the idea of writing a book and became very determined. And I started and stopped countless ideas, as many of us do. I'm sure you can relate. Like getting really excited at the initial idea, writing about 10 to 20K, and then being like, all right, on to the next one. That's about it. So yeah, but then in 2022, May of 2022, I actually have the specific text I sent my friend. I got the initial idea for Immortal Consequences, which was this very vague idea of a dark academia-ish fantasy set in a magical school in Purgatory. And like instantly I knew it was like, this is the idea is going to stick. And I became really determined. I'm very stubborn. And I was like, I'm doing this. I'm writing it. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how publishing works. I'm going to research this all myself and I'm going to figure it out. And here we are.
I love that. Okay.
Thanks.
Your idea is so unique. Like, I love how you just are saying, oh yeah, it just popped up.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like it is like totally inspired by all the like classic YA fantasies that I love, that I grew up loving and that I love now. Like it has those like, Magical Academy, Dangerous Trials, kind of this like morally gray, unlikely found family. These are all aspects that I definitely like drew inspiration from just other young adult fantasies that I love. But I just love like kind of dark, twisty things. And I was like, how can I do like a spin on a magical school? I've also had a very like strange morbid fascination with death ever since I was little. It's kind of weird. I was just like I'm really obviously very scared of dying, but I was like really aware of my mortality and the concept of death at a very young age. I don't know why. Probably my anxiety, like my anxious brain. I'm just like, these are all the ways I can die. So so I was just like really aware of it. So it was something I was like, oh, like this could be a fun way of taking this thing that like terrifies me and combining it with like all these things that I love and making this kind of unique story idea. So there was like, inspiration. It wasn't this like miraculous, idea that came from the ether, but yeah.
Okay, I want to get into all the inspirations and stuff, but before we jump there, because I am so curious as to all of that, going back to the writing process and the nitty-gritty part of writing, you created a multi-point of view narrative, and that I can only imagine is very challenging.
Yeah.
How did you manage the different perspectives when writing this?
So I love multi-POV books. Like genuinely, like some of my all-time favorite books are multi-POV. Like the book of my heart is Six of Crows, and as we know, that is like a classic multi-POV book. But I think that the ways I handle those challenges is making sure that every time I switched a POV, there was a reason behind it, and it was like pushing the story forward. I didn't want to ever just like slap a POV on there and be like, all right, I just kind of want to move on to another character. It's, why am I moving on to this character? What are they going to offer the story currently, whether that's like in their internal thoughts or pushing the narrative forward plot wise. So yeah, just making sure there's like a legit reason for switching to the next POV. And I think a lot of that was character building prior to starting the story and just having a really well-rounded idea of what these characters were like and what their motivations were. So that way, when I was thinking, okay, who would make sense for the next POV and like the next chapter, I'd be like, oh, well, Masika would really would go investigate this next. So I'm going to switch to her next. So that was what really helped me, but it is challenging. There are times where I was like smacking myself with my laptop because I'm like, why did I do this to myself? And I definitely, I'm loving it, and I love it for this story, but I don't think it's always needed. So also making sure it's like, do I really need all these POVs? I think sometimes it is needed and it works wonderfully. And then sometimes like I'm working on this new idea and I know for this one, I don't need multi POVs. So I'm just sticking to one. But who knows? In the future, there might be another story where I'm like, I need 6 again, or I need 5, etc. So
yeah. Okay, how cool. So did you need to, I don't know, did you need to outline the hell out of that book to keep it all organized?
I should have. That's
no,
a really,
it's okay if you didn't.
That's a really great idea, Taryn. Maybe next time. No, I'm just kidding. I would love to be a writer who outlines and who has like a very meticulous, detailed outline, but I am just not. I need a little bit more flexibility. I'm very much a discovery writer, so I'll just free write the first like 20K to just really immerse myself in the world and the characters. And then from there, I will create like a very loose general outline of like the major plot points and the beats, but it's always subject to change. So I had like a very general outline. I always knew how it started, the middle, and the end, and I tend to always know that for every book I start, like how it ends, how it starts, and the kind of midpoint. But everything else is a wonderful mystery yet to be solved. So that was the general plotting outline for Immortal Consequences.
No, that's awesome. We're very much alike in that area because I totally understand the whole writing and then maybe outlining a little bit, but I'm just more impressed with you because that's actually so cool that you were able to do that without
just
outlining.
Go for it. Yeah, it's just how my brain works. I think if I tried to outline, it would have been worse. Like it just like I would just get stuck. Like I need to have a bit more freedom and you know, especially for the first draft. I think once I start the editing process, that's when I start having way more like structured outlines. Because obviously I kind of already know what happens. But for the first draft, I need to just have the freedom to, you know, kind of run wild with my imagination. So yeah.
Really? Okay. You're so cool. That's awesome. Were there any particular, without being too spoilery, of course, were there any particular scenes or chapters that were especially challenging to write?
You know, I can't think of like a particular scene or chapter, but I will say in general, especially with multi POV and just the kind of writer I am, is just trimming down and condensing action scenes specifically. Like I am very much an overwriter. Like I would spend 300K in a world if I could. But so yeah, especially with multi POV where you have so many perspectives, and I want to make sure I'm getting equal time with everyone, especially in like an action heavy scene with like the trials and stuff. The main challenge for me was making sure I was keeping the pace going as quickly as possible while still feeling like I was giving everyone the like, you know, adequate time to be on the page. So yeah, I would say just like trimming down and being like, okay, maybe I don't need 200 more pages of like banter and action. I can like reel it back a little bit.
I feel like that's a good problem to have because you have all the words, you have all the explanation, and you just gotta...
I know, I just gotta find like what's actually important. There's a lot of fluff. You know, I think that's also just like from being like a lover of fan fiction and like having written so much fan fiction. Mind you, I was like literally 13. It's not like it was yesterday, but I do think that is like such a fan fiction trait of being like, yeah, this is gonna be 300,000 words and you're gonna love all of it, and 5 chapters are literally just gonna be banter. It's gonna be fine. But you can't do that in traditional publishing, I'm afraid. So,
unfortunately,
trim it down a bit. I know.
Okay. So how did you overcome the challenge of trying to trim down? Was it a lot of help from your editor? Or were you able to do it all on your own?
Yeah, it was definitely a team effort. Lydia's amazing. Her edit letters are just like a gold mine of wonderful advice, and she just like gets the vision. I feel like we're very aligned in not only like craft, but like what we like to read and what we enjoy. So, yeah, her edit letters were amazing. They were so critical in me figuring out how I was going to go about, you know, trimming and getting this all kind of condensed. So yeah, I definitely think it was a team effort. And I think once I started editing, that's when I did start employing outlines a bit more, like you were saying. And I think that did help because when I see it kind of outlined, I'm like, okay, maybe this scene in chapter 4 and chapter 7 can be combined somehow. And I don't need to, you know, extend it 10 more pages. So yeah, I would say it was like a combo effort of that.
Okay. That's so cool. Okay, now to the influences and inspirations. Were there any specific books, authors, media that influenced your writing or the development of the story?
You know, kind of like I was saying before, it very much is like a big mix of a lot of the like classic YA fantasy tropes that I truly adore, but obviously I wanted to find a way to make it unique and have like an interesting plot. So, but very much drew inspiration from tons of young adult fantasies that I read when I was little and now, and I love dark academia books, especially like, you know, the Atlas 6 kind of a vibe. That's very much like a comp for the atmosphere. So those are all things that I definitely drew inspiration from, but also I know like a lot of authors will draw inspiration from like music and film scores, and I get really inspired from audio. I think because I did songwriting and music and I studied music for a while. I went to a musical conservatory after high school for a bit, so I draw a lot of inspiration from film scores and soundtracks and music and all of that. So I think getting the whole atmosphere, it was like this, like kind of like all my senses were involved a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that's like the melting pot of inspiration for the book.
Okay. That was actually regarding music. That was my next question.
Oh, lovely.
What type of music were you, like moody music, instrumental? Do you have a favorite artist that you were listening to?
Yeah, it's a lot of instrumental, a lot of classical music, a lot of like looking up like dark academia. I'm in like a dark enchanted library playlist. Like, you know, like those that are like really specific, like a ghost is making you tea and like enchanted, like, you know, like very, very niche specific atmosphere videos. I love those. You'll find something for everyone, honestly. But yeah, film scores. I love On the Nature of Daylight. I don't know if you've heard that song. It was on the movie Arrival. Have you watched Arrival?
I don't know.
No. Oh my god. It's one of my favorite movies. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it.
Writing it down.
It has Amy Adams
Arrival.
in it. It's like aliens, but it's like not really about the aliens. It's like very hard to explain, but it's one of the movies where I literally wish I could brainwash myself and like take it away from my memories and rewatch it again, because has one of the best endings. Anyways, sorry, I digress. On the Nature of Daylight, On the Nature of Daylight, I love that song, and I listened to that on repeat for like the third act of book 1 and book 2, honestly. It's very, very dramatic, very much giving like one of us might not make it, something's going on, like big battle, like it's all of those kind of big act 3 feelings. So yeah, that's like one of my favorites. But yeah, just a lot of classical, a lot of atmosphere videos. I can't have words if I'm writing. I can't have like a song with words playing. It has to be classical instrumental music.
Totally get that. Okay, I'm definitely going to be looking up that movie and that song.
Yeah, great.
Because I need all that type of music, and I love movies like that. So
I also have like a full playlist I can send you. It's like private on Spotify, but I'll just send it to you. Yeah.
Okay. I would love that, actually. Okay, yay. I feel special. So let's dive into your debut experience, and this is I need to actually pull out a notepad, and because very much been loving seeing everything you've been posting and stuff, and
thank you.
wanting to be there one day. But
you got
thank you. As a debut author, what has been the most surprising aspect of the publishing journey for you?
Oh, honestly, like so much. But I think the one thing I always tell people, that just like prepare yourself, is that so much is out of your control. And that's just something you have to accept early on, is that a lot of things that are happening to you in your career and your book is kind of out of your hands. So you do have to just kind of trust your team at times, and you know, kind of accept that they know what they're doing and to kind of just roll with the punches. So yeah, that's like the main thing I've kind of learned, that there is just some stuff that you kind of just have to go with. But yeah, I mean, for me personally, every new step that I get to is a new learning experience, because this is all new for me too, you know? So I'm just absorbing as much as I can. And I would say that's also something I would recommend doing, is just kind of, you know, using each opportunity as a learning moment, and take notes and just like absorb as much as you can. And that's why I try to like talk about it on social media too, is I know that for everyone, there might be people who were my position 8 months ago who are like, have no idea, okay, like I'm on submission and I have an offer. Now what happens? Like you know what I mean? So everything was kind of a surprise, but I'm taking each step as an opportunity to learn, which honestly I think is super exciting. So.
Oh, it's so exciting. And you do really well with posting about your journey and like certain things you've learned. I know I actually learned something from you on TikTok. You posted about, it was certain writing critiques your editor had given you.
Yeah.
And I realized, I was like, oh, I do that same thing. And so I've implemented that into my writing where I'm like, oh, okay, I need to not do this. So you do really well with posting about
Thank
that
you.
kind of stuff. And you are teaching a lot of people. So you've been a great resource for me.
Yay. That makes me so happy because I mean, like, I get it. Like, that not only was that me, but like that still is me in every new kind of facet that I'm in. But yeah, if I can help anyone who is like starting this journey and is in, whether it's querying or going on submission or whatever it is, the more like honesty and openness we have in this industry, I think the better. So.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Can you share any memorable moments from the process of bringing Immortal Consequences to publication?
Ooh. The funny thing is, I think a lot of the most like memorable moments are unfortunately secrets. So I can't like publicly share. But
Yeah.
That's the other thing about publishing that I guess is a surprise, is that a lot of things you cannot tell people for a very long time. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of secret keeping and waiting involved in publishing. But I will say that honestly, just like having the opportunity to work with an editor has been just so wonderful, and kind of creating these connections with your publishing house and your imprint. And I know everyone's experience is going to be different, but for mine, I've really had just such a lovely time working with my team. And that honestly in itself has been the most memorable part, is just like having this new relationship with the team at Delacour, and being able to work with Lydia, who's just like so talented and has such a vision. I'm just immensely lucky. So that's honestly been one of my favorite parts so far.
Okay. That's awesome. I came into your journey a little later, but seeing the hype around your book and how many, I love your updates on how many Goodreads ads you've had, and just people posting about it like crazy. That I know I'm very outside of your journey and stuff, but that's been memorable. Like remembering you and your journey. That's been very cool to see. Very exciting. And
thank you. Yeah, I love, I mean, even like what you're saying, like seeing, I guess that's the other memorable side, is having that like community online is not something I ever imagined I'd be able to kind of accumulate so early on. So, yeah, it's been so awesome to like connect with like other writers, and let me know that's how I met you, and with potential readers. And there's just so many people who are so excited, and which is really cool. I know the book isn't out yet, so I'm like, please like it when it comes out. But yeah, it's really cool to just be able to connect with people online. I know the internet has a lot of flaws, and it's definitely not perfect, and it's not always fantastic and rainbows and sunshine, but
yes,
it is also really cool to be able to connect with all these people. So
love that. Okay. Actually, my next question kind of does delve into social media. How have you found the experience of building a readership and engaging with potential fans ahead of your book release?
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. It definitely was something that I just kind of started, like I've talked about this briefly before on social media, that I started TikTok and Instagram post book deal. So it was like I had already gotten my deal, and I was like, okay, I know my publisher's going to have their own promo and marketing campaign eventually down the line, but like what can I start doing to create maybe a potential readership early and just connect with people as early as I can and foster a sense of community. So I started posting on Instagram and TikTok, not really thinking much. And, I mean, some videos stick, some videos don't. It's just kind of like consistency. I have a lot of people who sometimes ask like, hey, like, how did you get this video to go viral? Or, how did you, and I'm like, I don't know. I could not tell you. It's a mystery to me, unfortunately. I just did it consistently. And when if I see a format working, I will recycle that format and tweak it slightly to change like something specific about it. But other than that, it's just, posting and engaging with people. And, for me, it's like genuine. Like, I'm so excited to talk to these people who are excited about my book. Like, it's so cool to me. I'm like, I don't know you and you want to read my book. That's awesome. So for me, honestly, it's been wonderful. I know the online bookish world, there can sometimes be some tension, some drama. It's not, there's been some shady stuff that's happened, but for the most part, I try to keep it a positive space. I definitely, you will never catch me fighting with someone on the internet. I always say that. I'm like, that is just not, it couldn't be me. So if you ever see that, I've been hacked. Just know. So it's not me. But yeah, so it's honestly just been awesome to connect with everyone.
Okay, that's funny. I feel the same way.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't have the time.
No, we see drama. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Putting that away. Have there been any challenges you've faced as a debut author in the YA fantasy genre?
So far, I feel like I've had a very smooth sailing journey. I definitely have heard from others that there can be sometimes difficulties. Sorry, I have a very large dog who will occasionally start barking at me because he wants me to play with him, and it's currently happening. So I'm just gonna pet him.
We are good to take a pause if needed.
Okay. No, he's just being a grumpy old man. He's just like looking at me with his like bone in his mouth. Like, please.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So anyways, I've had some people, tell me about challenges that they face, and I'm sure, even though things have been smooth thus far, my book hasn't hit shelves yet. I'm sure it's up and down, up and down. That's kind of how this industry is. But I would just say for like young adult fantasy, as kind of we talked about, it is very much like a social media driven genre nowadays. So even though I love connecting with readers and posting, I guess the biggest challenge so far is making sure I find a balance in that and I don't become a little overwhelmed. And I think sometimes I go through waves of it, of certain weeks feeling like I'm really balancing posting and writing, and other times where I'm aware that I've been on my phone probably for 5 hours straight, and I'm like, I should set it down. I like my eyes are drying out. So that's been like my main challenge is just ensuring that I don't get sucked into the doom scrolling, the obsessive refreshing of like social media stats. I'm like, okay, yes, this is important, but what's more important is maybe going outside, interacting with the human world, drawing inspiration from my real life and writing. So yeah.
It's a hard balance sometimes, especially with trying to get it. And you're so close to getting it on shelves and stuff. I not totally understand because not in that area yet, but yes, the doom scroll. I'm always like,
still, you're research. Like, you're promoting too,
Oh, yes. Yeah. Trying. But yes, I'll be doom scrolling. I'm like, it's just research. We're just trying to figure out the trends.
I know, that's true. But like that is part of it. But I'm like, okay, maybe I should be capping this research to like 15, 20 minutes and not 5 hours, Yeah. So
completely get you. So what are you looking forward to with the release of your book this summer?
Oh my gosh, so much. I mean, the number one thing I always tell people is just seeing it on a bookshelf, like in a store, like see it in a bookstore. Like that's going to be, I peaked, like that's it. Like I'm done. Like that's all I could ever have dreamed of. And like that is 13-year-old me's absolute dream. So seeing it in a bookstore is going to be the high of my life, I think. And yeah, also potentially maybe seeing readers in person at like a launch event or something. That's obviously something that would be really, really cool. And yeah, there's other things that that are happening that I'm really excited about that people will find out eventually. But yeah, I'm very, very excited. Also very terrified and nervous, and you know, it is kind of a very scary thought of, oh, okay, like this thing I've been working on for 3 years and has been my entire life is now going to be for the public. But yeah, I'm trying to focus on the positive side of it of like, hey, this is what you've wanted. So suck it up.
Yeah, you're awesome. That's funny. I am so okay with the secrets. I'm so excited. Just know I'm over here stewing so
I mean,
excited.
imagine how I feel. Like there's things that I've been keeping for like almost like 7 months now, and I still can't like talk about, which is yeah, that's the publishing industry though. So
yeah. Do you know when you can announce these certain things, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You got a countdown going
on. But it'll be a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll stop. What is it? Meddling in. Okay. For Immortal Consequences, how many books are planned for the universe?
It's a duology, so 2.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. So book 2, the first draft is done and has been turned into my editor. So I'm just waiting on the edit letter now.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yes, very exciting. I'm so excited to like dive back into the world.
Yeah. No, that's super fun. What do you hope readers take away from your story after turning the final page?
Ooh. You know, kind of like what we talked about before, I grew up so immersed in like fandoms and young adult fantasy worlds and kind of had this really deep emotional connection to all of the books that I read. So I would just love for them to be swept away by the story, you know, and have that same feeling that I had when I would read them. And if they can find a tiny piece of themselves in the characters, that would be wonderful. Yeah, I just want them to have that same all-consuming feeling that I have, you know, when I read young adult fantasy. So
absolutely. And I firmly believe they will, with just the idea and just the snippets you've posted and stuff. I think this is gonna take the world by storm.
Thank you.
Is there any advice you can offer to aspiring authors looking to write in the dark academia or even the YA fantasy genres?
Yeah, read, and not just read in the genre, read outside of the genre. That's like what helped me the most, honestly, is just reading a plethora of genres, and just kind of going out of the box a bit. That's how I kind of drew a lot of, I don't know, like the specific, like, sorry, he's growling.
No, you're good.
Someone's just walking down the stairs outside. Of course, it's not allowed. Okay, buddy. But yeah, anyways, drawing inspiration from other kinds of genres is extremely helpful. And so yeah, just read, listen to music, go outside, go to museums, just like try to immerse yourself in the world and draw inspiration from the real world as well.
Love that. I think, what was it? I can't remember actually who said it. I can't remember who said it, but their advice too was just read. Like that's the best you can do, like the best research you can do. And I fully agree with that. So I think that's perfect advice. Okay. We're going to lighten things up with a few fun questions.
Ooh.
Are there any out-of-pocket genres you would like to try your hand at in writing in the future?
Out-of-pocket genres. I don't know out-of-pocket genres, but maybe kind of like an out-of-pocket trope would be, I would one day love to try a love triangle. And I know that's like controversial because people really don't like love triangles, but I think if you do it right, it's like one of the best tropes. Like think about like the Vampire Diaries and Twilight. Like those are iconic love triangles, and people love them. But they have to be done right, you know. So
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Absolutely. That is a good point. It is such a controversial one, but some of our favorite romances have been love triangles. But
love triangles. I know. I just you have to like, you know. We'll see. We'll see if I can do my own spin on it eventually.
I bet you could. Do you have a favorite trope or genre to read in?
To read in, I mean, for genre, I mean, fantasy will always have my heart. That's like my top. I obviously go with your phases and lit fic, like I was saying, but fantasy will always feel like home. But for tropes, I mean, I'm so basic, like enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, any sort of like annoyance to lovers. That's just my jam. I love it. I like it. Like never gets old.
I think that's perfect. Is that your favorite to write in as well?
Yeah. I mean, they just kind of need to dislike each other in the beginning. I don't know why. Like, I think a part of it is that kind of like, I think there's been like TikToks about this where it's like, oh, you like enemies to lovers because you want someone to see you at your worst and still love you. And I'm like, oh, like, okay. Ouch.
That was my exact reaction.
I was like, oh, that hurt. I just woke up. I didn't need to hear that. But you're right, also.
No, that's funny. That whole that whole trend has been on my mind lately where I'm like, can we stop? Like
I know. I'm like, they're like hitting it where it hurts. I'm like, oh, you're like reading me. Like, that's really awkward.
Or it's like, oh, I have no original experience in this life. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's truly like none.
Oh, I love that you brought that up. Okay. What is your favorite comfort book or series?
Comfort series is the Grishaverse, like in general, is just my fave. I love the Bardugo. Six of Crows, like I said before, is my comfort book. The Grishaverse in general. It kind of got me back into reading when I had basically not read for like 5 years. I was an obsessive reader when I was little, like when I was like 5, 6. I read all throughout middle school and high school, and something happened when I left for college where like I completely stopped reading. I think it's just like classic, like I was lost, you know, I was like going through a phase. So I picked up Shadow and Bone in like 2019, 2020 maybe. And it kind of reignited my love for reading, fantasy, and writing kind of all at once. So I'm very grateful for it.
Okay, that's a good series. I haven't actually, this is a sin I'm about to admit to. I haven't read the series, but I watched the Netflix.
Oh, it's fine. That's fine. I do think you should. Have you not read any of them? Have you not read Six of Crows either?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. Okay, well, I know you probably have a very long TBR, but just add them in there.
Okay.
Because Shadow and Bone is good. Six of Crows is just like my ultimate. It's just more my style, I think. But anyways, you should read it.
Do you have to read Six of Crows after Shadow and Bone, or can you? Is there an order?
You could read Six of Crows without reading Shadow and Bone. I know people who have done that and they were fine.
Okay.
I think you get more of a well-rounded understanding of the world if you read Shadow and Bone first. But you could, like my sister read Six of Crows first, not knowing that she had to read Shadow and Bone first, and she was fine.
Okay, I'll add it to the list. I'll keep you updated. Okay, well, let's end off with where can listeners find you?
Listeners can find me at Ivy Marie Books, basically everywhere on the internet. Unfortunately, I'm like on every social media platform, but mainly Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and YouTube now.
Yes.
So yeah, Ivy Marie Books.
You're killing it at YouTube.
Oh, thank you. It's honestly so fun. Like long form content, it just feels so nostalgic to me. I was a huge YouTube fan in like the 2010 to 2013 like era of YouTube, where it was like I was obsessed with like British YouTubers, like Happy Days and Zoella and that kind of group. Anyways, so I'm excited to just be doing some long form content for a change.
No, you're killing it at everything, obviously, but you're a huge inspiration for me. So like I've been following you for a while now, I feel like, and you just have been someone who's taught me a lot. I've also just loved cheering you on as you've gotten closer to publishing or your publishing date, and you're just killing it. So know that
thank you so much.
I'm #1 fan.
Thank you. And honestly, like you're killing it too. Like I really admire like your tenacity and just like going out there and being like, I'm starting a podcast and just like really going for it on social. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're killing it as well.
Thank you. I appreciate you. We'll go ahead and close out, but I'd love to chat with you just for a second afterwards. So if you want to stick around for a minute, but thank you all for being here. Thank you, Issa, for being here, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Wannabe Author, the podcast where we get into the real side of publishing, the highs, the lows. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Wannabe Author. I'm your host, Taryn Christine. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Wannabe Author. Hey, hi. The podcast where we get into... What are we doing here?